So I was going to start putting together my computer, and I figured, I might as well make a video of me putting this together in case somebody wants to know how to put together a computer. So I'm just going to do this in stages, and we'll see how it goes. So I got a motherboard, and this one here is a, I guess they call it a B550M motherboard. And so the first thing I'm going to put in is my hard drive, which is kind of funny how much they've evolved over time. The first computer I built, if you wanted a hard drive, you had to get a controller card so you could even put a hard drive in it, because it was all driven off of floppies. So we've come a long ways to just something like this for a hard drive. Anyways, this is, I believe they call these an M.2 solid state drive. And so I'm just going to put it in, and I'll zoom in a little bit if I can. It just goes right inside this little slot right here. You just kind of put it in from the top, rock it in, and you put it down, and there's a little screw that holds it in right there at the post. It's just a small screw, it's just barely off the screen there. So I'm going to put that in right now, and again you just kind of put it in at the top. It's notched. I think it'll only pretty much go in one way. Drop it down, get your screw. There you go. I like to turn it to the left till I hear it click once. That knows I'm not cross-threading it. And that's pretty much how you put in a modern hard drive. It's kind of remarkable when you really think about it. So that's all there is to installing your M.2 solid state drive. Alright, next I'm going to put in my CPU. And first thing I need to do is get these plastic brackets out of the way. So you just get a screwdriver and take those out. Which just consists of taking the 4 screws, and let's see here. I was thinking I wasn't going to make you watch me do this, but it's going so quickly it's not too bad. What this allows me to do is put the stock cooler in. You'll see that in just a moment. So I'm going to lift, you just push this kind of out and up, and that's how you install your CPU. Now there's usually a clearly marked corner on here, and I don't like to look at the instructions, which is a bad thing. Don't do what I do. But I can see there's a little white corner here, so I'm assuming that's what I call the number 1 corner. And on your CPU, on this side, it's hard to tell. There is a little shiny spot on one side, but if you flip it over, it's actually easier to see. There's a gold triangle in the corner there. Hopefully that's showing up on camera. And so you just put that into the corner that's marked on the motherboard. And it, by the weight of itself, it should just drop right in. And you just push down this lever and lock it in place. And that's pretty much all there is to it. And then the CPU's in. Alright, next I'm going to put in my stock heatsink, and heatsink slash fan for my CPU. And if I look at the pad, it's actually not exactly squared up, but that'll be probably good enough. If you look at the where the screws are placed on there, 2 are closer and 2 are wider. And so you can kind of only put it on 2 ways, that way or flip it 180 degrees, else it won't go on. You kind of want to make sure you're lining things up, because you don't want to keep, once you put it on, you just want to be done with it because of that. There's thermal paste on it. So in my case, it's a good idea to see where you're going to plug in your fan, and I believe this is my fan plug-in spot right there. So that's probably the only factor I'm really taking into consideration, make sure my cable is going to place nicely there. So with that said, I'm just going to attempt to put it on. And then my cable will reach fine. And what you got to do is just screw down these screws. And so this is the tricky alignment part. And I don't put them down all the way, I just kind of get them to bite in a little bit. They're spring loaded. So I'm just going to do that on both sides there. I'll be right back. Okay, the way I did it is I just put the screws in. The springs make really bad sounding noise, but that's okay. That's just springs compressing and stuff. And so you just gently screw it in and it'll actually bottom out. You don't want to tighten it down real tight. You just need to put it in until it bottoms out, until the screw stops turning. And then just go around, and a lot of guys will do cross deals and stuff like that. But then all I got to do now, I'll spin this around for you. Let's just plug in my fan connector. It's can't quite see very good, but it looks like it's keyed, so it can only plug in one way. There you go. And I'm working on a little static charge. I don't know if it's not static charge, but a little foam mat thing that the CPU shipped in, so to kind of protect the bottom. So that's a nice thing. Hopefully your motherboard came with something like that. So with that, I'm done with the CPU and the CPU cooler. Alright, next I'm going to put in my RAM. And you want to look in your motherboard instructions to tell what slots to put them in. Also, they only open up on one side, so I just opened up what I'm going to call the first one and the third one I opened up, and that's where I'm going to put my RAM slots. And the RAM chips, they have a key in them there, so it'll only go in one way, so don't force it. And if you look down inside right there, you'll see where that key goes. So let's give this a try. I think I'll do the back one first. So that's backwards. Looks like it goes like that. So when you just drop it, I was going to say, you just drop it straight down. And it clicks in and closes that for you. And that's all there is to putting the RAM in. Now I previously installed my M2 stick here, but I got looking, and everybody else is putting it underneath this case cover. And I found out if you put it in here, I believe it disables these two SATA ports. So I think that's supposed to be the primary one. So I'm going to actually move it, which is pretty easy. You just unscrew this heatsink. The screws are really small, so you don't want to lose them. And unfortunately there's some kind of heatsink like stuff on here, and I don't know, it's kind of sticky, so I'm gonna take this off. And this has paper over it, so I don't know what that's about. It almost, maybe you're supposed to take that off? I'm not sure. But anyhow, it's the same deal. You put it in. Oh, I got my screws mixed up. Oh, it's in the screwdriver, magnetic screwdriver. Let me put that on there. I don't know about this. It doesn't make sense to put this on sticky side down if this has just got paper on top of it. So I think I'm going to just leave it there and install this over the top there. Just put the screws back in. can line them up. Oh, it looks like you don't put this in. This is actually used for the plate also. There we go. And so that's how you move to what is probably the primary slot. Maybe want to do a little research on that little tape thing underneath there. Like I said, my chip, my M2 came with like a paper label on top of it, so it doesn't seem like it's that heatsink critical. Might do a little research on that. But so at this point, we're pretty much done.